Good afternoon, class. We're going to be doing our multiplication review 1 this afternoon. There are many ways to think about multiplication. In the review we're going to do today, I'm going to show you a few different ways, but there are lots and lots of kinds, so there are many other ways. If you think of a really cool way to think about multiplication, write it down so we can talk about it in class, because I'm sure everyone would really like to know. It'll be extremely important as you go through 5th and 6th grade that you have your basic multiplication facts memorized. That means you don't have to count any multiplication 0 to 12. Okay? So if you don't have those memorized, you should be working on them every single night, because in 5th and 6th grade, we move from working on our facts to using our facts to solve problems. If you need some resources to help you practice them, I would be happy to help you get them. So just come talk to me and we'll find you some resources. One way you can look up multiplication is simply repeated addition. So today we're going to be using our basic multiplication facts, but these apply to any multiplication that you're doing with any numbers. So if we look at it as basic repeated addition, what I'm saying is I have 5 6 times. So I have 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. So all multiplication says is I have 5 6 times. So I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 30, which is the same as saying 5 multiplied by 6 equals 30. Okay? Next, we can look at multiplication as an array. So if I'm taking 8 times 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw myself an array. Now, array is a rectangle or a square that I'm dividing into multiple pieces. So I have 8 and 2. One side is going to be one number, and one side is going to be the other number. If you think about this, you can think about it like finding area. If I'm finding the area of something, I'm multiplying two sides because it tells me how much is in the middle. So I have 2 on this side. You see how I divided this into 2? And then I have 8. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now if I want to find the solution to this, all I have to do is count the number of squares I have in the middle. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this helps me visualize 8 times 2 equals 16. Okay, I can do this with other numbers. If I did 4 times 3, and I want to know what 4 times 3 was, I could make myself an array. Now, if you notice, it doesn't really matter what side of the rectangle I put my numbers on, as long as I have 1 for each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 4 times 3 equals 12. So an array is one way to represent it. Eventually, what would be ideal is to be able to use an array and not have to draw all of the squares. And we'll work on that skill later on this year. But that's kind of where we're moving. So I would get pretty comfortable with using an array. Next, we have multiplication that's represented by groups. So if I have 4 times 3, we know from our previous problem that equals 12. But what I'm saying is I have 4 groups of 3. So often I can think of my multiplication symbol as of. So I have 4 groups of 3. So I'm going to draw myself 4 groups. And you could see how this one you may not want to do when you start getting into the hundreds and the thousands, because you're going to be trying a lot of groups. But I have my 4 groups, and now I'm going to put 3 in each group. And all I have to do is count my dots. So I'm counting my dots, not my circles, because my circles, the large ones, represent my groups, but I want to count how many of the dots I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 4 times 3, or 4 groups of 3, equals 12. If I'm looking at multiplication in a table, I can write down multiplication facts for entire numbers. So I can write all the multiplication facts for 8 times 1 to 8 times 10. Now the way you read a table is you go to the square. So I'm going to look at this very first square, and I'm going to look at the number above it and the number to the side. These are the 2 numbers I'm going to multiply. So on this square, I have 8 times 1, which equals 8. On this square, if I'm looking at this next one, the number above is 9. The number to the side all the way over here is 1. Okay? You want to look at where they intersect all the way to the side. Because if I looked at this 8 over here, I would get the wrong answer. I would be confusing my 8 with my 1, which is what I'm multiplying by. So I have 9 times 1, which is 9. Same with my 10. I have a 10 up here, so I'm going to be doing 10 in this area, and I have a 1 over here, so I have 1 times 10, which is 10. I can do this all the way down this column. So I know I'm going to be multiplying by 8 because all of these ones right here are multiplying by 8. All I'm looking at now are these ones on the side. So 8 times 2, because 2 is over here, is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. See how this works? 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48. And I can just keep going, filling in my entire table. So if I wanted to do my 9s, I could go 9 times 1, which we already did, is 9. 9 times 2, which is 18. 9 times 3, which is 27. 9 times 4, which is 36. Okay? And then I just continue down my row. The same with my 10s. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 3 is 30. 10 times 4 is 40. Okay? That's how a multiplication table works. Which brings us to your warp problem tonight. For your warp problem, I want you to draw a graph like this on your piece of paper and then fill in the chart. Make sure to make your lines nice and neat so that I can tell what each column is. I can tell what numbers you're multiplying. But your chart should look exactly like this, except you're going to actually fill in all of these spaces. Okay? If you noticed, hey, I'm having a really hard time with my 7s. I seem to have to be counting up or down to find my answer. That lets you know I need to be working on my 7s. The same with any of these numbers. If you are having a hard time, those are the numbers you need to be practicing so that you can have a lickety-split in the classroom. Good luck, and don't forget to hand in your homework tomorrow morning.